On today's episode of The Story Detective, we're going to talk about how I plan my videos and a little bit about how my expectations meet with reality. This video was suggested by Kate Kavanaugh. That's what's coming up. Stick around. Today I'll be filming the last two videos in what I consider to be my winter-spring season, or essentially the last 6 months of my channel. I like to take every 6-month interval as a season. That season, how it winds up from where it began, is something I like to look back on. And then I plan the next 6 months, a direction that I want to go in. I look at that in the same way as a story needs a good concept as an underlying foundation. If you have a firm, solid idea of where your concept is, it fuels the rest of the story and can energize it. So when I look at where I want my channel to go in the next 6 months, I want to have an idea of how to improve things and where I hope those expectations will go. What happens usually is I have a number of different videos planned, different style videos. Mainly what's happened in this season is I focused on the writing craft and the tech and gadget reviews. I started with a couple of different videos. I also had my Write Talk that was going to discuss different aspects of writing in general, just in terms of something conversational. And then I also had my Heroes and Villains series, and they never took off in quite the same way. So what I plan and how it actually works is often two different things, but just like planning a story, I think it's better if you have too much and condense it down than have too little and then try to struggle to build it up while you're on the fly. I think of myself as a plantser, and some of that laps over into my videos because some of those things will get edited out, some will fall by the wayside, and there's inspiration that happens along the way when I'll get ideas for a different series, or sometimes just time constraints. The past 6 months started out one way, and then I had a surgery. And if you remember correctly, the surgery was supposed to happen around October, and it didn't happen on schedule. It was canceled and rescheduled for after the holidays because it was getting too close to the holidays to actually want to be without a hand. So what I had planned for October didn't work out, and I ended up kind of inserting that whole Save the Cat thing that I did. That was an inspiration that I didn't really plan. I had several other series in mind that didn't happen either. Where does all this come from? It comes from my habitual attitude since I was a kid. When I was working on art and writing my own homemade comic books, there was no internet. I had nobody to share it with, nobody to really critique outside of some family and friends. Family wasn't very supportive. There's a lot of people who aren't supportive of creativity in general because they think you're not going to make that much money, or that it's a pipe dream that you're chasing, or it just affects some people in a certain way. You tell them you're creative and suddenly they become defensive. I'm not exactly sure why that is. I have a few theories, but that may be something for another video. Maybe one of my Write Talk videos. So what I would do as a kid is I would work for 6 months, and then I would look back and I would compare what I was doing 6 months prior to where I was currently. If I saw growth, where there was growth, there was hope. I had to be my own best advocate in this. Then I would decide where I wanted to go. What was the next level from where I was that I wanted to go in the next 6 months? And I would try to drag myself up to that level. I never quite made the level of greatness that I hoped for, but by aiming high, I often landed somewhere in the middle, and there would always be at the end of those 6 months some kind of improvement, and that meant that I was moving forward with my creative endeavors. As an adult, I do the same thing with my writing. It may not always be 6 months in my writing. It might be the end of a draft and then taking a break, so it might be 6 months, it might be 8 months, but I will look back between drafts or between projects and figure out what I'm doing now and what I was doing then, what I've learned, what I still need improvement in. So the same thing applies to my channel. When I figure out that direction and where I want to go next, what I will do after these videos are finished, the last couple in this season, plus I have a keyboard review that I'm going to insert in there that I did last fall. It's something I forgot about, but it's an interesting, different kind of keyboard. So this will keep me going for the next 2 weeks or so, during which time I will start planning and filming the next handful of videos for the next 6 months, just to give myself a kickoff for that direction. In terms of individual videos, I mostly just have bullet points of what I want to talk about. But there were, I think, at least 2 videos this time around that I scripted fully. And I learned some things from doing that. And this is something that I want to start considering on how to fuse together the bullet points and the fully scripted and get the best of both worlds. Ideally, I would like to have 1 full day of filming and get more than 1 video done during that day. A lot of times that doesn't happen either. And then have 1 day per week where I'm editing the video that goes up that week. But I've tried to do 2 videos per week, and that's a little more challenging. Sometimes that's taken up a little too much of my time. So I need to decide whether I want to get ahead and stick with the 2 videos per week format or get down to doing 1 solid video per week. I'm usually about quality over quantity, so I may just try to do 1 solid video but improve the quality of that video. That seems to be where I'm leading at this point, but we'll see. My writing versus Authortube is a constant battle, and I haven't found the perfect balance yet. I don't know if that balance exists. I'm going to start blocking off time better, and this is something that I also plan to do over the last 6 months, with some hit and miss success in terms of attempting to plan it out in my head and stick with that schedule. But I think I will do better if I actually block it off on a calendar. I've done that before and I've had some pretty good success, so that's another thing I'm going to integrate for the next 6 months. Have a better schedule, optimize my time a little bit better, see how it plays out in terms of getting my videos done in a more timely fashion, more time to write, and see where the balance lies. Again, I'm going to think of the optimal effort, aim here, and I'll probably land somewhere here. But for now, that is the basic idea. One thing that I usually try to keep in mind when I'm planning videos or thinking about my channel in general, I try to have a future eye on the things that I'm doing in the present. Because you get a book out there, or 2 or 3, it develops a following. That following is not part of this platform. Although I've made a lot of good friends on this platform, the videos entail things that I hope they want to see. I also keep an eye on what I think the future reader is going to see. What do writers who have made it do with their videos? How do they relate to their fans? What do those fans want to see when they look at their videos? Usually if it's a writer that's worth their salt, they want to understand how they're doing what they do and revisit those steps along the way. We all talk about following one another's journey. If I have a desire for future readers, I want them to not only see the steps that I've taken, but also understand how I got there. So the craft videos, I think, for me, is what I go to writers for. We can only present our best effort in what we believe we want to see, because that's where our passions are. So if I go to Stephen King or Neil Gaiman or any writer that has a large social media following, I'm usually looking at their posts on how they deal with those relationships with their fans, B, how they're looking at craft and how they're explaining it to those people who want to know, and C, a bit of personal life, because everybody wants to know the person behind it. Success is never how we foresee it or what we planned. It always has a bit of a life of its own, and you hope that your vision in your head makes it to what you actually get in reality. And it's often some fusion of the two. But we don't know how people are going to react to our stories. And again, we write the kind of stories that we enjoy and hope that we do it well enough that people that like those same kind of stories will come and enjoy our stories as well. My channel is aimed at the same thing because this is just another storytelling medium. I want to have some level of entertainment value, even if the videos are a growth process and I'm stumbling along the way. I don't think that's a bad thing. We all make mistakes and people like to see that we're human beings. So there's a balance to be found in all of it. And whether we want to realize it or not, that comes under marketing. As the people who write our stories, we are a large part of our marketing. How we relate to people, how we sell our books, it goes on and on. Our social media is supposed to be a platform for that. Instead, we get on social media and often we do something completely different because social media has a different draw. And usually of the draw, statistically, most people are doing it wrong according to the experts. And yet everybody's doing what everybody else does. So to do that, if the experts are right and the statistics are correct, if you do what other people are doing, even the bigger YouTubers who have gigantic followings, they're in a completely different market. If they did what they do as writers, it wouldn't go over the same way at all because the entire entertainment world has a lot of things in common, but just like there's different factors in different genres, every entertainment field is something different. It applies to art, finding a style that's all your own, directing. Anything that you do in the world of entertainment has your own stamp on it. So finding your voice here in Authortube or YouTube in general is something that's as unique as any other part of your creativity. If you can find your voice here, and I've learned things from editing and making these films that I wouldn't have known otherwise. But I think if you can find your voice here, build confidence in sending this stuff out to the world, it's also going to help you find your voice and build confidence in your writing. So my plan is everything that I do affects the hub or the whole of who I am and what I'm doing creatively. And that's true. One creative aspect always fuels another. So until next time, keep those keyboards clacking.